Okay, so there are three forms of linear equations, and I'm going to talk about two of them right now as they relate to a couple example problems. The first form is the slope y-intercept form, and that has the form y equals mx plus b. And that's pretty useful because you can find the slope as the letter m in there, and that tells you how steep your line is, or if it's tilting down or up. And then the letter B represents the y-intercept. So that shows you where the line crosses the y-axis. The other form is a standard form. And this we usually write as ax plus by equals c. This form is useful mostly in solving systems of equations, if you want to use linear combination to do that. But we will often, in Algebra 1, ask you to rearrange an equation into that standard form just to get you ready for solving systems a little later. And then the third form is called the point-slope form, which I won't cover today, but it looks like that, and it's pretty useful too. Okay, so let's look at a problem. This one is y equals 3/7 x minus 4. If we were asked to convert that to standard form, we could do that. The first thing we want to do is standard form, if you notice from up here, doesn't have any fractions in it. So the first thing we want to do is get rid of that 7 in the denominator. And how we want to do that is we want to multiply each element in the equation by 7. That will cause this to be 7 over 7, which is just 1. So that will eliminate that 7. So I'm going to write a little note that I multiplied 7 times each of these things. It looks funny on my computer. Sorry. So I went times 7 times each of those. You got to do the same thing to both sides. So, and then it's just using the distributive property. We're going to do the same thing to this term and this term. So we do that, we end up with 7y equals, and now the 7, you can think of it as canceling out. The 7 cancels out with the 7, or you can think of it as 21/7. Well, 21/7 reduces back to 3. So I'm just going to write 3x. And then we want to multiply the 7 times the 4. That gives us negative 28. Okay, so we're almost in standard form. I put 2 negatives there. We just need 1 negative. So now, if you remember from the previous page, standard form is the ax. So something, the coefficient with x plus a coefficient with y equals another coefficient, another constant by itself. So what I need to do now is to get this in standard form is to subtract 3x from both sides. So I'm going to write minus 3x. Subtract 3x from both sides of the equal sign, and then rewrite it as minus 3x equals negative 28, and that's how I do it in standard form. So I'm done for now. So it has the form a coefficient of x plus the coefficient with y equals a constant. So that's standard form. Okay, now in this problem, we would like to change this into the slope, or to find the slope in this problem. So the easiest way to find the slope is to change it into slope-intercept form, which was up here. So this is slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So the y is all by itself. So we want to move everything over to the other side. Okay. So the only thing we have to really deal with is the 3 here, because the 3 is the only thing with the y. So what we want to do is divide each side by 3. And we want to divide each of the terms here by 3, because that's using the distributive property. Okay, so when we divide 3 by 3, that's just 3 over 3, which is 1. So we can just write y. And 2 divided by 3 is 2/3. I'll make this look pretty. Just plus, and then I can write it as 6 over 3, but I know that 6 divided by 3 is 2, so I'm going to just write it as 2. Okay, that's in slope-intercept form. So now I know that if I have it in the right form, this term right here represents the mx, the slope times x, so therefore the slope is 2/3. So I could say m, or slope, equals 2/3. Like that. Okay, let's look at another type of problem. So what if they've given us this? It says, what is the equation if the y-intercept is -10 and the slope is 2/5? Okay, so that to me sounds like slope-intercept form, that y equals mx plus b form. So what I can do then is just plug in the stuff they've given me in the equation, because they've given me a y-intercept. They've said it's -10. I remember from the form, this general form, this y-intercept form, that b represents the y-intercept. So I can replace b with -10. And then it told me the slope is 2/5. So I can replace m with 2/5. I'm going to make it look nice here. Sort of. Have to put that funny equation in for a second there. Okay, and then I replace b with -10 minus 10. So that's how I write it in slope-intercept form. And that's all I have to do. Okay, what about this next situation? What is the equation of the line that passes through the point 2, 6, and -8, -14? So the first thing I need to do in this case is I need to figure out what the slope is. So I have to remember an equation that shows me what the slope is. So the slope is the difference, meaning you subtract, I'll write it as a difference of the y's over the difference, it's not going to do it for me, or the difference, I think I'll write it with just a slash. So the difference of the y's divided by the difference of the x's. And there's a lot of different ways they write this. Sometimes they write y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Or they write it as delta, like a little triangle, which just means difference. So I thought it might be easiest to write it this way. So what we want to do then is take the difference of these 2 points. So remember that x is listed first, y is listed second. So in order to find slope, what I want to do is take the difference of 6 and -14. So m equals, I'll make it look like a fraction. Oh, there we go. So I'll use parentheses at first. 6 minus a -14 divided by, and then I want to do the same order. So if I did this point first, 6, then I also have to do the 2 first. So then I say 2 minus -8. Oops. Okay. So now I know, that's annoying. Now I know that a negative times a negative is a positive. So I'm going to change this to so 6 plus 14. I think I better put parentheses in, it looks like. And 2 plus 8. Again, because a positive or negative times a negative is a positive. Okay. And now 6 plus 14 is 20, divided by 2 plus 8 is 10, and so I know that reduces 20 divided by 10 is 2. So my slope in this equation would be 2. Now, there's a couple different ways of going about this. Probably the easiest thing to do is actually go back to the point slope form. So if we go back to the point slope form, it says you can take y minus any y. That y1 represents any y given to you, equals the slope times x minus any x given to you. So let's do that. Actually, I'll just copy this formula and we'll take it down below here. Okay, so now I'm going to say y minus any of the y's. So let's use 2 and 6. Let's use those two because they're smaller. So 6 is the y. So I say y minus y1 equals, and then the slope, m is the slope, which is 2. So write down 2. And we know our x, so use the same point. If you're going to use 6, you got to use the 2. If you wanted to use -8 and -14, you could have, but you should use those together. So now we use the 2. We say x minus 2. Okay, now in this problem they didn't tell us to simplify it anymore, so we can just be done. If they would have told us to put it in standard form, you would distribute the 2 and then rearrange it to get it in that order. But this form should be fine in this case. So we're done. So we wrote an equation and it intercepts, or excuse me, it is a line that goes through those 2 points. Okay, one last idea. So one thing we've done is rearranged equations in order to get things how we wanted them. Like we rearranged this equation up here, or wherever it was, this one. So that same kind of